They're like, "Oh, I have to go to the dentist," and then that the parent says that I have to pay for the dentist, and then the child says I have to go to the dentist. And so when you have 60 people in that negative tone, it can wear on you. And so I have to try to keep myself mentally focused to take care of them in a positive way, but also mentally focused on myself so that I take care of myself mentally. Because imagine if you heard like 60 people negatively speak about you every day, and then you have to
Yeah.
convince 60 people that it's going to be okay and that they'll like you at the end of the day. It is not easy.
Hello, and welcome back to the Spread the Positive podcast. I am Katie Coleman, Operations Director here at Spread the Positive, filling in today for Trent, who is behind the scenes. He's still here, so don't miss him too much. He will be back next week. But I am so excited to introduce you to our amazing guest today, Alex Piedra. Alex, welcome. Thank you so much for coming on the pod.
Hey, thank you so much, Katie. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you again for having me. It's an honor.
Of course, man. So tell us about yourself. Tell us about what you're doing and what you're up to, and then we'll get into the good stuff after.
I guess the question is, what am I not doing right now? I am so blessed with so many wonderful opportunities. This being one of them, with you, Katie, and you being a Harvard grad. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
She's a
Congratulations to you as well, my friend.
appreciate that. You're a wonderful classmate, and I think the things that I'm doing right now are really focused on helping and serving and um, trying to continue to grow myself as a person. And so I think that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Awesome. Well, tell us what your day looks like. So, you are a dentist by trade, but there's more to it than that, right?
Yeah, a lot of people, think that I just drill and fill teeth, but I do so much more than that. I'm part-time psychologist, I'm part-time mentor, I'm part-time therapist, I'm a part-time business owner. I'm also a father and husband. And so I have all of these hats that I wear, and I go through them every 8 hours every day. So the basic way my day goes is like this. I get up in the morning. Um, I'm super stoked to get up because I go to the gym at my house. I have a little mini house gym, and I work out at home. I work out for like 30, 45 minutes. I run after that for another 30 minutes, and then I get ready for the day. My travel takes about 15 to 30 minutes, go to work, and then I'm at work 8 to 4. During 8 to 4, my wife will text me about random things. My kids may or may not need me for certain things. I have a bunch of mothers that come into our clinic, that they're asking for their kids' dental needs, concerns that they might have. The kids come in with some fear sometimes. My goal is to make sure that they learn in a way to not fear the dentist for the next 10 to 15 years. And I love doing that. I've been blessed with like many wonderful mentors, opportunities to be able to do that. And you'd be surprised, but I see about like 50 to 60, sometimes 65
Wow.
patients a day. And so that's 65 mothers a day. And,
Wow.
you know, I enjoy it. I enjoy being able to calm the child. I enjoy being able to um, help the room feel in a good spot so that the mom can be like, wow, you're already done. Or like, wow, you did it and my kid didn't cry. Like being able to create those type of experiences is kind of what I'm all about right now. And it's been good. I've really been blessed with that.
That's awesome. So, you are a pediatric dental surgeon. Yes?
So I do both. My trade's called pediatric dentistry, and so that's what I do in the clinic every day. But I actually do surgeries at the Children's Hospital here in Temple, Texas. It's near Waco, and it's called McLean Children's Hospital. And I do surgeries for kids who have like trisomy 21 Down syndrome, heart needs, autism, cerebral palsy, any craniofacial deficiency, or like any unique syndrome. I'll see them. And so I have patients driving all the way from Dallas, sometimes Austin, Houston, just because there's not a lot of providers that will see them or can see them experience wise. And so I'm blessed enough to be able to do that at the hospital with them.
That is so wonderful, Alex. And you touched on something. You really are like the determining factor for a lot of the kids, whether or not they're going to have dentist trauma for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I have to remind myself every day because sometimes it could be a little bit disheartening when so many people come to the office with a negative connotation. They're like, "Oh, I have to go to the dentist," and then that the parent says that I have to pay for the dentist, and then the child says I have to go to the dentist. And so when you have 60 people in that negative tone, it can wear on you. And so I have to try to keep myself mentally focused to take care of them in a positive way, but also mentally focused on myself so that I take care of myself mentally. Because imagine if you heard like 60 people negatively speak about you every day, and then you have to
Yeah.
convince 60 people that it's going to be okay and that they'll like you at the end of the day. It is not easy.
Well, and not to mention, if you're 8 to 4, you're seeing 65 people, you're seeing, like, what is that, like 8 people an hour? You get 8 minutes with them?
I don't even know. It really determines on the type of, length of the procedure, right? Sometimes you'll see babies, shorter appointments. Sometimes you'll see, teenagers, longer appointments. So it kind of varies. So, it's kind of a different flow. Like normally my treatment, like I had a patient today who needed a couple fillings, took me about 35 minutes ish. And so it just
Okay.
kind of varies depending on what you're doing.
Wow, okay, so you're not just, like, turning and burning people all day.
No, 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 it's more like, and that's the thing with, like, pediatric dentistry, I'm also a part-time magician, so I have to, like, be very calculated on, like, what I'm doing. Like, I look at the schedule, and I'm like, "Okay, this person will need this much time, and I need this person first because their treatment's gonna take a lot longer than this person's treatment." And so it's doing it very methodically. I kind of think of myself as oh, man, what was his name in Marvel Comics? Uh I can't remember his name, but he was always able to see the future in so many different fashions. That's what I try to see. I try to see the future of that day in
Yeah,
many
yeah.
form. How will this day turn out?
Nice. That must require so many moving parts and pieces inside your head at all times.
Oh yeah, it's great though. And I'm also blessed with wonderful teams. Leadership you can't do without teams, right? You
Yes.
can't lead and help improve a society without teams. And so I've been very blessed with amazing people I work with.
Awesome. Love that. So tell me how you got into dentistry, Alex.
So I got into dentistry by chasing a lot of other things and then figuring out that that's not exactly what I wanted. So, in undergrad, I was like an accounting major. I was a theology major.
Wow.
I was medicine major for a minute, and what really helped me figure that out is like shadowing people and getting to know people. Like I shadowed my accounting teacher, phenomenal, but I didn't realize he had to do so much research to teach in an institution. I wasn't a big research guy. And then theology, I love teaching like gospel principles and like theology, but to be able to be a person of influence, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort because it's a very niche situation. And then medical, I shadowed and just the work-life balance integration, it just wasn't great. And so,
Sure.
for me, I wanted to find something. I checked out dentistry, I checked out one dentist, and I just saw I got home at 5 o'clock, and I was like, "Huh, that's kinda cool," because growing up, I'm an immigrant, and my parents, they always worked a lot when I was a kid, and I barely saw them. So for me,
Yeah.
as a child, it was home alone a lot, and so being able to think of a career where I could actually come home and then be with my family was kinda cool, and so that's why I looked more into dentistry, and it's been, wonderful.
Wow. That is real. So my uncle's a doctor and he said the two least emergency filled medical professions are dermatology and dentistry.
Yeah, I don't disbelieve that at all. So
How often do you see like an emergency dental case?
okay, this is a bad time to say that, but I had like four calls this week, and so, like but they were, like,
4?
but yeah, they were super random, like, people on slides, like, hitting their knees to their face and their teeth, like,
Ugh.
getting traumatized, a lot of falls, it's summertime, so people are falling all over the place, and so it's just harder when that happens to teenagers because it breaks your heart because like, that's their adult teeth, right? And so
Yeah.
it's bled so much into my life that, like, even when my kids play around with each other, I'm like, "Watch your face. Please watch your
Oh
brother's face.
guard.
Whatever,
Please
like,
watch your
please
brother's
watch your
face.
face. I don't care what you guys do, like, whatever, just watch, like, don't let your brother hit your face, please."
Hey, my name is Brian Nail, and I'm a mortgage loan officer with Primis Bank. I just want to say how much I truly enjoy being a part of the Spread the Positive Network. It's an incredible mission that brings so much positivity to our community. It's been a real pleasure to be involved. Now, when it comes to financing a home, there are a lot of options. And in a market like today's, having the guidance of a trusted local professional can make all the difference. Whether you're looking to purchase a new home, second home, an investment property, or explore refinancing options, I'd love the opportunity to earn your trust and help guide you through the process. I can help you nail your mortgage. Give me a call at 615-243-3976 or visit knowyourmortgage.com.
Where I'm in right now.
Do you make them wear, like, the special equipment, like a mouth guard or anything?
Baseball, yes. Baseball is one of the most commonly, traumatic dental injuries, and I'm still shocked
Really?
how a lot of baseball players wear them, yeah.
Wow,
You
I
see
can
more
see that.
basketball players wear them now, after, like,
Yeah.
Steph Curry worn them, LeBron James, etcetera, but, for a long time, basketball didn't even wear them, and you get a lot of elbows in basketball, so we've seen a lot of teeth
Goodness.
fly off in the court, especially on, ESPN, so
You can probably get really good at, like, spotting the teeth flying across the screen.
oh, yeah, it's actually pretty wild how many times this happened.
So, you mentioned that you're from an immigrant family.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing with us about that and where your family's from?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was born in a place called Ecuador, and Ecuador, is in South America. And so, what I had is I have two parents, and I was born in a city called Guayaquil. Um, Actually, I guess my mom's from Guayaquil, and I was born in Quito, but my dad's from Quito. And I was born in Ecuador, and then at the age of 3, they immigrated with me across the plains or across the ocean, whatever you want to say, to the United States of America. And that's where I was raised. I was raised in a place called Seattle, Washington. And so
Okay.
those supersonics, they don't exist anymore. And so, and so, uh, it was an interesting experience, but growing up in Seattle, Washington, I grew up in the poverty belt, in the poverty line, and so below the poverty line, I grew up, and there was a lot of times where like bills had to be paid and things had to be done, and sometimes there was no water, sometimes no electricity. One time I was a kid, the apartment complex we lived in burned down.
Wow.
I saw a lot of things as a child that were difficult for me to understand, but looking back were important for me to learn from. And so, my parents worked at a place called Kodak and Fujifilm. So basically, like
Yeah.
print cameras, film cameras, and they worked at a factory for a very long time. And because of the factory hours, they couldn't, be at home with us, make dinner all the time, drive to school.
Yeah.
So I was on the bus, and I got home, my parents were still at work, and so I'd help my little sister, and we kind of like make food, and we grew up a lot up on MTV for some reason. I don't know if
Yeah.
that the channel to watch or something, but like that's all I remember watching as a kid, and
Back when
as
there
I
was
got
still
older,
music on it.
yeah, exactly. When there's still music on it, and yeah, growing up, I think my parents always wanted the American dream, and so I think that's
Yeah.
what was their driving factor. And it was interesting because in 2008, the American dream is typically where you have enough money to buy a house, right? You can provide your
Sure.
family with a house, and like you came from somewhere and then you got somewhere else. They bought a house in 2007. It was like a townhouse, but they felt
Nice.
so proud of it. But in 2008, as I'm sure you know, the recession happened and we
Sure.
lost, and
Oh, no, I hate that.
I'll never forget the idea or the feeling I had when, like, I came home after school and, like, our house was, like, literally taped up. Like, the side of our townhouse was, like, taped up, like, you couldn't go back in, and I was like, "But my shoes are in there," like, 'cause I loved collecting shoes as a youth, and they're like, "Sorry, like, it's been repossessed," and I'm like, "What?"
You couldn't
And
even
so
go in and get your stuff?
I get my stuff. It was so sad. And so, that was pretty tough, but, I learned a lot from that experience that as easy as things are given to you or you work for them, they can be taken away. And
Yeah.
so that's a mantra that I try to teach my kids, like, "Guys, work hard, but just know it could be all taken away tomorrow." That's why it's so important for you to build skills and know that you might have to rebuild, but as long as you develop the skills now, you can rebuild tomorrow.
Love that. Wow, I cannot even imagine working so hard for all of that time to
Yeah,
just come
I
home
know,
every day and, like, not have a house anymore, and all
I
your
know.
stuff be gone too.
Yeah, it
Insult
was,
to injury.
yeah, I know. Yeah, well, I feel bad for my parents looking back, it must have been so hard for them, like you just said, like, working hard the whole time and then that happened. That's not easy. Not
What
easy.
did they do?
So, that's a little bit more of a complicated story, but basically, I I think that caused a lot of, discord and contention and sadness in the home, and so there was a lot of financial, discord, and I think it hit a nerve in both of them in some way, and so around 2008, when the recession happened, I actually ended up going on a church mission for my church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for 2 years, and I went from 2009 to 2011. And, on my mission, actually, my parents got divorced, and so I think that the pinnacle of it was the health situation, the financial situation, and then probably just that, annoyance that they had with that whole situation just kind of probably blew that up. So, while I was on my mission, they got divorced, I came back, and I was living with my aunt for a little bit because I didn't really have a place to go, and so, I had never met my aunt, but she's in Florida, great lady. Stayed with her for a little bit, and then my dad got an apartment, and I lived with him for probably, like, a month before starting, back up at college.
Wow. Okay. So you've had quite the, I don't want to use the word tumultuous, but it hasn't been the easiest path for you.
No, and but the thing is, Katie, at my age of, my older age of 35, not that old, but, I'm just saying, but,
I'm 35 too. I was doing the math while you were talking. I
I
think
know,
we're
I
like
know.
the exact same
I'm
age.
just kidding. But, at this age, the thing that I've learned from this is vulnerability can be a strength. It doesn't always have
Yeah.
to be something you're scared of, and my wife had to beat that out of my head, like, over and over because when we first got married, I didn't tell her anything, like, I didn't tell her any about
Oh.
this experience, so, like, she was always like, "I know you've had a harder past, but, like, can you tell me?" And, like, we would be married, and, like, it took us probably 5 years for her to actually get it all out of me, and now I'm
Wow.
much more free about talking about it, and it's been so interesting because even at Harvard, like, hearing everybody else's stories, like, they all come from different tumultuous, backgrounds as well, and,
Yeah.
it was very endearing to hear, like, I'm not alone in that sense, but also,
Mhm.
like, um I'm 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 blessed to know the people that have been strengthened by their trials instead of, like, being down by them.
Absolutely. Yeah. It is always so inspiring to see. Nobody that has ever gotten anywhere has gotten there easily. And so everyone's got a past and a story, but the people that end up going the extra mile, I think, really come from some of the hardest backgrounds a lot of the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to hear at some point to your advice to anybody who is in your shoes now where you were in maybe 2011 when came home from your mission and you were like living with your aunt in Florida and you were like, what do I do next? And I want to hear how you ended up, choosing dentistry and going to college and all of that. And then also like anything you would give to somebody who maybe is in those shoes right now where you were then and is looking to pull themselves out of it and to make a life that they want, what you would say to them.
Oh, I would say so many things. I would say don't don't lose sight or undervalue the people in your life. There's gonna be so many people in your life that you may not even understand, um, that will impact your life in one way or another. And I think that that's one of the most amazing things to understand because along my journey, like, the person who got me on my mission was, one of my church teachers. She got me on the mission. The person that provided me a place to live after my mission, my aunt that I've never met before, really.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
incredible.
the person that provided me vulnerability to be seen as a strength and be able to talk about my journey has been my wife. So like there's pivotal people along the way that will come in your life, and you have to learn to be able to see them and be able to uh, understand that they're there for a reason rather than just being like they're just a coincidence, right?
Sure.
And so I think being able to understand that, and then I touched on this earlier, but being able to build skills, you have to build skills along the way. Like along the way of this, like I learned how to do sales door to door because I wanted a job to be able to provide for my family. So I learned that skill, on my mission, I spoke to people. So I talked to people all the time for 2 years. That's all I focused on. Reading books, there's so many different things you can build on. And then finally, have some sort of long-term value. Like my value is I want to provide comfort, warmth, and access to people. Like I want to give that to people, the patients that come here, the people that I talk with, such as you, Katie, and I want your podcast to be amazing. I want it to be excellent. I want it to be uh, full of people who that can shine a light, so that your podcast can also be the light to be able to provide for others. And I think that's a wonderful thing you're doing right now with your team
Thank
um,
you.
for other people. I think it's so great.
That is very, very kind of you to say, and we certainly appreciate you being willing to be a part of it and being willing to do the hard thing and be vulnerable with me here today, and to share your story with us and all of our listeners because it's an incredible one. I mean, I feel like we could sit here and talk for hours if we went really in depth on all the details of all that stuff, but I
Yeah.
think you touched on some really important concepts. Building skills is so important. Coming from, you know, if you can always lose anything and everything, but if you have skills, you can always pull yourself up by your bootstraps and keep going.
Right. That's right. Amen.
Love
Agreed.
it. So tell me what's Alex in 3 years gonna be doing? 5 years,
Ooh,
maybe.
that's a great question. Um, you know, that's a really good question. I've often thought about that, but what Alex is gonna be doing is taking over the world. And
Yeah.
the way that I mean by that is like I would love to create some sort of enterprise with a team that can really give that excellence of pediatric dentistry or of joy or of happiness or of some sort of service that provides growth for other people in a global fashion. You know, I think of
Yeah.
so many other, not even in the United States of America, but after, our studies together, meeting people from so many different countries, like being able to disrupt those markets and create amazing dental experiences or podcast experiences. Like you could do a podcast like in Singapore or Japan,
Yes.
giving joy and happiness to others. And I think that's so amazing the reach we can have. But sometimes I feel like our brains are a little bit thinking too small, and I'm trying to think a little bit bigger. So in 3 to 5 years,
Love it.
I'm trying to have some sort of project that is more global, that has a bigger reach for others to help others. What about you?
That's incredible. Same page, man. Just land and expand is the plan.
Man, that's
We
good.
have some yeah, thank you. We have some big plans for the studio and the in the very near future, but also long term. We're hoping from a spread the positive perspective to be on par with like iHeartRadio and
That would be
the
so
other
cool.
really big like media conglomerates. But instead of the traditional format, have every one of our shows be focused on spreading positivity and being that antidote to the negative news media and spreading factual information, positive information, and making sure we're getting people's stories out that need to be heard that brings light to what is going right. So that's our plan, man. It's high level, but right now that's it. Land and expand, and we're working hard on that over here. So
Well,
thank
I
you for
think that
asking.
you have a great voice for this, number 1, and then number 2, I already feel like I'm on, some fancy iHeartRadio, podcast website, John. You got one of the best podcasts in the YouTube channel, so I think it's
Oh
awesome.
my gosh, you're so kind. Thank you for saying that. So I want to quickly detour us again because
Yep.
one of the I will say too from our shared experience being at Harvard together, I think one of the things that really stuck with me afterwards was that global perspective that we did get from being with people from 35 other countries from around the world. It truly was just a whole new, I mean, I remember sitting in class and I think you even mentioned this too, Alex, but I remember when you said this in class, I was like, that's exactly the page that I'm on because, you come in and you think that your answer is right, your opinion on the thing is the right answer, and no matter what, you're like ready because you have the right answer ready to go and locked in. And then you hear like somebody over here who's like, "Oh, well, that's not how we do it in Italy." And it's like, "Oh, yeah. I was only thinking about that from the
Yes.
perspective of how we do it in the US, right?
Yeah.
It never even crossed my mind to think about how the differences might be for other countries or, other markets or anything like that.
Yeah.
So, one of the biggest takeaways was truly having that global lens and understanding, like now knowing a little bit more what I don't know about what it takes to bring something globally
Yeah.
because we don't have I think especially in the US, we tend to have a very, like, US centric lens on everything. A lot of our news is really centered around the US. A lot of our, what we learn, our history, everything
Yep. Yeah.
is all US centric. And
Yeah.
so that was the biggest eye opener for me. And so what tell me like what brought you to Harvard and what your biggest takeaway was from it? if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, because I know we didn't
Yeah,
talk about that.
absolutely. Absolutely. So, um, oh man, what brought me to Harvard? So, I've always wanted to go to a higher ed institution like this, and so I thought it's kind of been like a dream a little bit. Like I had applied in undergrad at Harvard, just undergrad, and then I also applied um to Yale for my pediatric residency.
Okay.
I didn't interview at Harvard. I interviewed at Yale, and just being able to be in those, like, environments was like, this is interesting, this is kinda cool, I like it.
Yeah.
But I ended up not going, and when I got married to my wife, she introduced me to her family, and, I guess she has this lineage that actually goes to a guy, named Harvey Fletcher, who was a renowned scientist, and, he has, like, a whole Wikipedia on him and stuff like that, but he
Cool.
went to Harvard, business school, I believe. And after that, it kind of like sowed a little bit of a seed in me, like, oh, that's cool
Yeah.
that your family has done that. And then I,
Carry on the family
you know,
tradition.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then I got to know her uncle. Her uncle was also a Harvard MBA grad, and he was a great guy, great mentor that kind of me a little bit more about this. But what was interesting was in 2011, or yeah, it was 2011 when I got home from my mission. I went to this. I went to this, and this is what I'm saying about people. I went to this event that Vivint in Utah was holding at the time for, like, door-to-door salespeople. They were, like, holding this event and saying, "Hey, um, if you wanna learn to be a good salesman, come with us, and there's free pizza." And, of course, I was there for the free pizza.
Yeah.
And
Free
I
food will travel, man.
yeah, I show up after school, and I'm at WR, and I show up, and there's this guy named Casey, and he is, talking about, his experience that he did at Harvard, and he had done PLD. He was, like, probably PLD 26 or something like
Oh,
that,
cool.
and, I emailed him, and I still have the email. I emailed him that year, and I was like, "This Harvard thing, can you tell me more about it? I would love to get to know what it is." And he emailed me back the information, and I saw my email from all the way back then, and I remember
Yeah.
emailing him like, "Oh, this is just too expensive right now, like, I don't know if I can do this. Thank you, though, for sharing." Well, fast forward from, like, 2011 all the way till now, I got in touch with Casey again, and again, another pivotal person that I knew it but many years back, and he has an investment firm now, and, private equity firm, and he's actually the one that got me back on this journey of, like, "You should do it, you should really do it." And then my, uncle, on my wife's side, he's the one that wrote me my letter of recommendation. And
Oh,
so,
great.
again, 2 pivotal people that were able to help me get to this point in my life, and Casey has a great, podcast as well called Case Studies, which I recommend you, reaching out with him.
Yeah.
And he also, his focus is he, does a podcast where he interviews, like, very highly known, people in the business space in Utah and all around the world who do different things, who have done different things, and so, I've just been very impressed, like, he's had, like, Will.I.am podcast, for example, and, you know,
Wow.
and Casey met Will.I.am at Harvard during one of the, executive
I didn't
programs,
know
and so
will.i.am was at Harvard?
you should watch that episode. I might send it to you, but, I'll
Yeah,
send it to you,
please.
but it's just like little things like that. And so Casey has a mantra where it says like, success often leads breadcrumbs, and that's something that I follow. I follow him
Yeah.
in that sense where like, well, he's done all these things, so I'm also going to do that. My uncle-in-law has done all these things; he's done that, and then my father, he's not a Harvard grad, but he's very present with his family and very good with people. And his success is based off of those relationships. So being able to keep relationships really strong with your family and with those around you is key. And then also education, which is something that my uncle Jaron and Casey have kind of mentored me on. So again, pivotal people, but they've inspired
Yeah.
me. And I just tried and did it. And it's been great.
Good for you. That's incredible. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so your biggest takeaway, again, if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, and how you're going to use your Harvard experience moving forward in the world of Alex.
Yeah. I think, it's fuel, it's just momentum. For me, the Harvard experience has been a wonderful momentum to now go and continue learning every year. So my plan is to continue learning every year. I'll be doing an executive program every year, and, it's also been a breath of fresh air because like you said, Katie, you show up with this kind of like mindset of like, I know how this is done, but then everybody
Yeah.
else has different opinions. And then it really humbles you. And I think it's important at this stage of my life to stay humble,
Yeah.
and to always be learning because that's how great leadership happens and great growth happens in a business.
Absolutely.
'Cause
Awesome.
even, I have business partners, and when I came back, I realized, like, their opinions matter too. It can't just be me all the time. It can't be one or the other, right? It's good when somebody says, like, "No, I don't think that's the right thing," and I'm like, "Wait, can you explain that to me? I wanna know," and then if you wanna challenge them, you can challenge them, but the back and forth is what's the healthy growth aspect of it all.
Yes, absolutely. Incredible. Well, Alex, that's all I have for you, but this has been an incredible conversation. Any parting words, anything you want to leave us with, anything you would like to plug or share or tell us about or send our listeners to get to know you more and to keep walking with you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, LinkedIn/Alex Piedra. Follow this podcast. Katie's doing a great job. She's gonna change the world. I'm so proud of her and the team.
Thank you.
And then finally, I think it's love the people you come into contact with and do the right thing for the right reason, and that lead you to success.
Awesome. Alex, thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome, man. It was a good time talking to you.
Thank you,
Next
Katie.
time we'll do it in person from the studio, okay?
Love it. All right, thank you so much.
Okay. Talk to you later, man.